What are the best and worst intermediate towers of TDS? There are 11 intermediate towers that we're going to rank. At the end of the video, we're going to crown one tower as the best of the best and one as the worst of the worst. We will also reveal which towers were able to triumph the Molten game mode on its own. Comment below which one you think is the best and the worst. To make sure your favorite tower doesn't end up in F tier, it needs to tick 3 boxes. The first one, it needs good stats. If the stats are appealing, then it ticks a box. The second one is the universal use. If this tower is flexible in most maps, game modes, and single or multiplayer use, it ticks the second box. The third one is its uniqueness. Does it stand out as an amazing tower and great enough to be used in many loadouts? Like the last tier list, its performance in Grass Isles Molten will also affect the scoring a bit. Not a lot, due to the wide variety of maps that you can play on. Also, consider this. Since these towers are used by mostly new players, its value based on what it does to help deal damage and beat game modes will also be considered. Starting off with Crook Boss, it is the first level tower you can receive upon reaching level 30. It is also obtainable through a game pass for 400 Robux. Definitely the most unique out of all these towers, being able to spawn in 3 different types of crooks throughout its levels. Using this tower for any backup support is a smart idea, as the crooks can gradually do a lot of firepower and damage when there are so many of them. Its stats are amazing, its uniqueness is fantastic, and with its wide range in crooks, it could be used in any loadout. We would put this in S tier, but it does have a tower limit of 6 and can be quite pricey for the easier game modes. So we are going to put Crook Boss into the A tier. Our first support tower in this tier list, Medic, has been widely used due to its unique cleansing ability. Costing 1500 coins, it is definitely worth the support, being able to also heal your base health every wave. It should not be used for high damage, but it can do a decent amount of damage at max. Luckily, with its high range, it can cleanse troops in a large radius and cannot be stunned. It loses a point due to it not being too useful in the early stage of TDS, but it can definitely help later on, especially in Fallen. With everything considered, we're putting Medic into B tier. It could be considered A tier for advanced TDS players, but it is strictly a support tower. Taking place of the late great John Tower after the hardcore update, Militant has had a rough past, but the tides have changed. At a cost of 1500 coins, this tower is very easy to obtain as you advance into the intermediate towers section. This tower is super useful for hidden enemies as it only costs $950 total for the tower to unlock hidden detection. It deals high damage past level 2, and it isn't too expensive, especially compared to Crook Boss from earlier. It can easily be an amazing DPS tower as an intermediate, but it may struggle in harder game modes like Fallen. Militant does tick all the boxes due to its amazing stats, cheap detections, and universal use. So without a doubt, we are going to put Militant into the S tier. Another tower that has received a lot of memes and hate, Freezer, has also been able to redeem itself. Being mainly a support tower, it can be the first tower you can unlock that stuns and freezes enemies for a short period of time. It even has a frost grenade ability at max level, being able to freeze a few targeted enemies for a few seconds. It does amazing at stalling and is unique throughout these towers, although it does poor damage and can fall behind if you have other stun / freeze towers in your inventory. So we're going to put it into the B tier, but for players that have other stun and freeze towers, it can be considered the C tier. Honestly, if TDS didn't have this tower, I don't know what everyone would do. Just like how I don't know what everyone would do if you don't subscribe. It helps us do more of these amazing videos and we appreciate it a ton. Anyway, farms are more useful than you think. Although a hefty price of 2500 coins, it is a tower you will use forever. Since DJ, the tower that grants discounts, is an advanced tower, this tower is the next easiest way to save and gain a lot of money. You will see everyone using farms regardless of their level and stage in the game. It is useful in all game modes, and without it, most modes would be drastically harder. Although with a placement limit of 8, this tower ticks all of the boxes. Farm 100% deserves being put into the S tier. In my opinion, one of the sickest looking intermediate towers, Rocketeer, has a lot to offer for itself. As one of the main splash towers of this list, it costs 2500 coins, has a large range, crazy damage, and can deal damage to hidden and lead enemies. The unique part about this tower is its dead zone range. This is the red circle of which the Rocketeer will not attack enemies in this radius. It is expensive in-game and has a placement limit of 8, so this does lose a point. However, we are still ranking Rocketeer into the B tier. One of my personal favorite intermediate towers, Shotgunner, has had a crazy past. Replacing the old tower, Enforcer, it still holds up well today. Dealing damage to multiple enemies per shot, this tower is amazing at keeping hordes of enemies at bay. In the past, it could even do some crazy damage in Fallen, but it has since been rebalanced for fairness. Still, we consider this tower easily worth its cost of 2500 coins and a low cost to DPS ratio. Although it may struggle to to deal damage to high health enemies, especially the final bosses. This tower comes very close to an S tier, but we're going to add it into the A tier due to low performance on endgame bosses. One of the newest towers, Trapper, is mostly known for its uniqueness. Placing traps along the path, this tower is oddly great paired up with some supports. Alone, it can fend quite well and cost 3,000 coins. Its stats are not the greatest, but are quite good as well. As much as I enjoy this tower, especially speedrunning Molten, there are just better options for only 500 to 1,000 more coins, and Militant for even less. At first, we were going to rate it C tier, but we're going to hesitantly bump it up to B tier, as it still isn't a terrible option for a new tower. If you've seen this on an enemy before, Pyromancer will make it disappear. Well, for the most part. Regardless, this is likely the first event's melting troop you'll gain access to. It does well with low health enemies and burns through the defense on enemies like slows and slow boss. However, it doesn't do well on its own, but is definitely worth bringing as support. This tower ticks the uniqueness box, but we can't confidently say it fully ticks the stats and universal use box. It is almost practically ineffective on Molten, especially the Molten boss, and this tower doesn't help you with damage besides its defense melting. Pyromancer deserves B tier, but could possibly be considered A tier for advanced players that can spare the support rather than the damaged towers. Having just been reworked on Saturday, June 21st, this tower has received a physical glow up and its stats have gotten even better. Costing 3,500 coins, this tower has the best stats we've ever seen. Below $100 cost to DPS ratio, it can detect all 3 types of detections and does not get stunned. Its bombs help to destroy hordes of enemies, and this tower is beyond unique. This tower easily deserves S tier, but it does have a placement limit of 8. It doesn't deal with bosses as efficiently, having to loop around before reaching it again. Although the reverse ability does help counter this a bit, but we found it tedious to keep track of each one when you have multiple ace pilots. Just keep this in mind before purchasing this tower. And last but not least, we have the military base. Costing the most, 4,000 coins, it has a good reason to be this expensive. Although having a placement limit of 5, this spawner tower is great for the easier game modes. It summons a Humvee every 50 to 35 seconds and can be upgraded into tanks as it progresses. Its airstrike ability, unlocked at level 4, helps a huge amount with hordes of enemies and even deals great damage to bosses. Statistically, this tower is fantastic, although it is more of a support tower as it's commonly used for backup support in case the troops in the front have lost range of any enemies that get past them. Military base still deserves an S tier, but keep in mind its high unlock price, the price in round, and placement limit. So, with a brief analysis of all the intermediate towers, they all fare well, each being super unique to a beginner that is looking to power up their arsenal. These towers were also ranked in the perspective of a beginner/intermediate player, so here are a few things to keep in mind. 1. If you want to win game modes, damage is key. You don't want to focus too much on purchasing the support towers unless you have advanced friends to play with that could deal the damage to bosses. If you want to be able to win game modes all by yourself, or with just another person, purchasing the towers that deal high damage is key. 2. Try to use a variety of towers as they all work tons better hand in hand. Each tower wasn't made to be used entirely on its own. Anyway, to the point you've been waiting for, not including farm, only 2 of the 11 intermediate towers tested were able to beat Molten on grass isles, all by themselves. Militant and military base can proudly be announced as those 2 towers. If we had to crown one tower as the best of the best out of this list, we would have to choose Militant. It is awfully cheap in coins, does high damage for low cost, and can solo Molten. Paired with support and help of friends, this tower will thrive crazily. And lastly, if we had to choose the worst tower of this list, we would have to choose Freezer. Although being able to redeem this pass, this tower is not the greatest to purchase as a beginner to intermediate player. This isn't the greatest of the intermediate support towers, and players starting off the game should not go for support towers so quickly. If you enjoyed this tier list video, we did another one on starter towers right here. We will go over more in the future, so stay tuned. Please subscribe if you enjoy this content, and have a fantastic day.